Get ready to dive deep into Buffalo's vibrant music scene because we're stepping inside the fabulous Flamingo Lounge for the 8th season of Local Music Magic. In the Flamingo Lounge with Rockabilly Greg is more than just a podcast. It's a collection of stories that delves deep into the vibrant musical history of Buffalo and Western New York, creating a living archive where each story adds a unique thread to the overall narrative. This season, we're taking a deep dive into the heart of the music community. Join us for personal conversations with musicians and industry pros, where we celebrate the collective creativity that makes our favorite artists, venues, and events so special. But before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, CatsLikeUs.com, Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, and valued supporter Buffalo Ironworks for helping to keep the music alive. Greg Klyma is a prolific songwriter and seasoned road performer known for his energetic live performances and clever storytelling lyrics that deliver entertaining rides through hilarity, reflection, passion, and loss. Buffalo born and based, Klyma is a scholar of rock and roll and country music. From that foundation, he has developed a distinctive and compelling sound that resonates with audiences across the country and even worldwide, with international indie artists having covered his songs. You may also have heard his original tunes on SiriusXM, The Midnight Special, and Woodsongs Old-Time Radio Hour. Guitar lessons at the age of 13 led to songwriting at age 18. In time, Greg taught himself to play harmonica, mandolin, piano, and tenor banjo. After nearly 30 years of touring with more than a dozen studio albums under his belt, Klyma isn't slowing down. The Singles Project shows a songwriter who has matured and whose craft continues to evolve. Climate change is real. And it is my pleasure to welcome to the Flamingo Lounge, Greg Klyma. Greg.
How are you doing, Rockabilly Greg?
I'm doing great. Good to have two Gregs here. Greg squared tonight. And I've been looking forward to this. You got your guitar, so I'm looking forward to some singing and some playing and some shucking and jiving. So we'll get to it. So
it's more of a security blanket than any of those other things, but we'll see.
Hey, that works for me. So, but you were warming up a little earlier, and it sounded great. So I'm looking forward to having. Not a lot of folks come down and actually perform live. So this is always a treat when folks come and actually do live. We get a nice raw recording, which is the way I love it.
Right on.
Yeah. So, but before we get really into it, I always like to start asking everybody, did you have an aha moment when you said, music's what I want to do?
Hard to say if there was an aha moment. I do remember very specifically hearing a song by Steve Earle called Guitar Town when I was in my teens, while everybody else was listening to whatever the popular rock and roll station, pop music of the day, whoever was playing the Def Leppard and Madonna and Depeche Mode, etc. I was listening to WYRK.
Right.
I had gotten into Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. It was something that my younger brother, a friend of the same age, we all got into country music. Willie Nelson's the first concert I ever saw in 1984,
cool.
Buffalo Memorial Auditorium.
Right.
It was the City of New Orleans tour.
Wow.
And in 1984, you can look this up, I'm pretty sure this is correct, Willie Nelson was one of the top concert draws in the country in 1984. Now, granted, that's the same year that Bruce Springsteen releases Born in the USA. It might be the same year as Purple Rain and or Thriller, but like a lot of stuff is coming out. And Willie Nelson was still a top concert draw. And the first time I saw him was at the Odd, and it was packed.
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to WYRK, and at some point along the way, this thing hits the radio, and I'm driving in the passenger seat. Mom's on her way to the bank or somewhere doing errands.
Right.
And, you got to go along for the ride when you're that age. And we get to the place, and she shuts off the car and goes in. I'm like, come back here and turn that on, know? So later that night, I used to fall asleep with the radio on. And that hit the radio waves, and I shot up in bed. I remember sitting straight up in bed. That's the song, that's the sound, that's the guy.
Right.
And what I don't know at age 15 is that the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark and a lot of people have been doing this for a while. But when I bought that album, probably the next day at Cabbage's, and I was going through the songwriter credits.
Right.
This was the first time in my memory seeing an album where the guy whose name was on the cover of the album got a credit for every song on the album.
Right.
Steve Earle wrote all his own songs,
Mhm.
and that just blew my mind.
Right.
So if there was an aha moment, I don't know that at that point in my life I thought I'm going to do this for the rest of my life,
Mhm.
which has turned out to be the case.
Right.
However, I do know that I was wide-eyed and gone. And I had my first songwriter hero.
Oh, there you go. That's what got in your blood, though, right? It's like and it hasn't gone away, right?
I don't think that it could.
Yeah. Yeah. So about what age were you? Was that like middle school, high school?
That would be 15.
15? Okay.
Yeah.
So you were already, according to your bio, you had already been playing guitar a little bit?
For a couple of years. Yeah. And again, this is an era when you're going for guitar lessons and everybody wants the teacher to show them this Van Halen riff.
Right.
Or, hey, what's that opening guitar part to REM's Driver 8?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know how to play On the Road Again.
Yeah.
So
right.
I was different.
Yeah.
And it was recognized by my guitar teacher. And when somebody would blow off their lessons, a lot of people are maybe made to take guitar lessons. Not everybody's there because they want to be.
Right.
Some people just don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever was scheduled to come in after me often wasn't there.
Right.
And with an eager audience, that guitar teacher would just keep me there for an extra half hour, show me more stuff.
Oh, nice.
And he was really into Bob Dylan and the Beatles. So he used Leonard Skinner as a gateway drug from my hardcore country, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, eventually Steve Earle. He's like, well, if you like all that stuff, check out, and he plays me the riff to Sweet Home Alabama, but on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And like, here, this is your lesson this week. Take this home.
Yeah.
And then my family had to listen to that riff for the next 6 years.
That's right.
or whatever.
It happens, right?
A lot.
Yeah. No, that is pretty cool. And I know I've tried to take guitar lessons. You can see I have some hanging on the wall, but they're now artifacts as opposed to instruments that I can play. But one of these days I'll get back to it. But someone told me, they're like, "Do you ever put it down?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Well, then you're not a guitar player." They're like, guitar players go to bed with their guitars.
I have done that.
Yeah, and that's all telling. It's like. And I've said a million times, I just get so distracted, especially being down here. I would start playing a song, and I'm like, oh, because I like Johnny Cash too. So, and that was I originally wanted to be Brian Setzer, and my guitar teacher at first, he was like, oh, that Seltzer guy. He was a younger kid.
Sure.
And then he came back the next week. He says, yeah, you're right. He can play. I says, I know. He says, we might want to start a little bit.
Did you see his show with his orchestra at the Trough?
Not at the Trough. I did not see that one. I've seen all 4 of the ones he's done at UB Center for the Arts, and I saw one that he did at Darien Lake in '99. And I was sitting
right next to the horn section when he played at the Trough, and it was so much fun to be exactly in that position in the room. I had a great sightline to Brian, and all the shenanigans going on with the horn players.
Yeah, that was like right when he started the orchestra. I
believe so.
That was pretty. That was a pretty new idea back then, and everyone was like, "What is this thing?" And
the Stray Cats guy.
Yeah,
that guy.
Exactly, that guy. He's fronting a big band, and
I didn't continue to follow their discography, but those first 2 albums. Are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Keep on sitting on it all the time.
Yeah.
That's up.
Yeah, he took some great old stuff and amped it up. And I think I have probably a few bootlegs I don't have, but I pretty much have all the first presses and all that kind of stuff of everything he's done, including like Bloodless Pharaohs and all that kind of stuff.
Well, sometime when we're not recording a podcast, you'll just have to invite me over and we'll do a deep dive into your album collection.
Yeah, I got some country stuff because I like my twang too. So
nice.
But I like you, all the artists you said, I like that traditional country sound. That's really what kind of does it for me.
I love it.
Just kind of has a pureness to it. It's not a little. I've often said, and everyone's probably sick of me saying this, but I don't like polished music that's a little too polished. It's just not for me. I mean, for other folks, it's great, but I like more a little raw. Keep a few of those mistakes in there and make it sound like it's
I'm sure I have some songs that I love to listen to that are really slick.
yeah,
I know I do.
yeah,
Can't think of a title right off the top of
right.
my head.
I mean, I say that too. I'm sure I do too, but I do appreciate just the rawness and like when folks have come down here with their guitars, just sing and play the guitar. That's to me, that's something special.
About 8 or 9 years ago, I learned of an album called Bobby Charles by the artist Bobby Charles.
Okay.
And the very first song on the album, he starts to sing the bridge.
Right.
But the bass player is still playing the progression to the verse chorus
Okay.
that they'd been jamming over for a few measures.
Right.
Realizes that Bobby's singing the other part and jumps to the correct note.
Right.
But it's the first song on the album. And I love that on the first song on the album, there's this goof.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just, the track was vibing, so they kept it.
Right. Yeah.
That's an important thing that I think gets lost when you have too many technological possibilities. If you got a board with 32 channels and a digital console or digital recording setup, you're gonna make different choices than if you're on a 4-track recording on 1/2-inch or 1-inch or 2-inch analog tape.
Right.
And when you watch, say, a Beatles documentary or really anything before digital technology took over in the 1980s, when you listen to how they made these albums, there's constantly some part where, well, we didn't have any more tracks available, so we took the drums and the bass and the backing vocal parts and bumped that all onto its own track, and then we brought this in, and that opened up these 2 tracks, and we added this other stuff to it.
Right.
I love that. I read David Byrne's How Music Works.
Right.
And somewhere in there, he's talking about the early albums that the Talking Heads made and how they had a little budget and 8 tracks.
Right.
And that limited amount of studio time and those 8 tracks informed all of the decisions they made as to what went on the song.
Wow.
And that's where that sound came from.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yay, limitations.
Right.
I love limitations.
Yeah. Kind of like back in the 50s. They didn't have, you pretty much got all around your mics and you recorded and that was it, and yeah, I love it. And, like speaking of, like mistakes, I mean, the Beatles, they made a thing, the feedback, and Mamas and the Papas did that too. And what's his name? He comes in quick. I saw her again last night, and I just love that because it's real, and
well, let's just dedicate the rest of this podcast to making mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep screwing up.
That's
Go ahead, ask me another question. I can get it wrong.
There you go. Yeah, there's no right or wrong, right? So, but so now, when did you start writing?
I was 18. It was a high school music class. What do you call it? Music class? It was the final project.
Oh, okay.
Teacher said everybody's got to write a song. That's the final project of the school year. It was my last class of my last year of high school. I had never thought of writing lyrics before, didn't know how. I remember going to the library. I found a book of literature, opened it up, blindly pointed at a paragraph, turned out to be a poem, lifted the first couple of lines from it, expounded on that over a D minor chord progression. I got an A on the project, and I'm certain that it's not because it was a good song. It was the fact that I actually completed the task. And then I graduated. And then that summer, I remember I was out in the yard shooting hoops. I used to have a basketball net on the garage, and I would just go out there and throw the ball at it. And I started singing a song in my head. And I was like, what am I singing? I didn't recognize it. And I was like, oh, I'm writing it.
Oh.
So I put the ball down, went inside, found the guitar, figured out what I was singing. And then I went back outside and shot more hoops. And that happened a few times over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, you write one that you like.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was a song called Worn Down Gypsy Man, which is hilarious looking back at it because I'm singing a whole lot of stuff in that song that I was nowhere near having lived. And now it is the kind of stuff that I have actually experienced.
Okay.
And I don't have any nostalgia for that era of my songwriting I don't play any of the songs.
Okay. I
found the binders when I first started writing songs. I don't know if I'm OCD or just meticulous, whichever the case. I wrote all the song lyrics out on loose leaf paper.
Okay.
And I found I still have the binders with the first 200 songs I've ever written, and they were numbered. At that point in my life, I had this thing completely cataloged.
Wow.
After the 200th song, I think I got to a point where I was just writing anywhere and everywhere. Any notebook, any napkin, any brown paper bag, any business card, postcard that it was something that I would write on. But early on, I had this whole ritualistic thing about it, and they're all in these binders, numbered. And geez, like the fifth song in is that one I just mentioned, and then there's another one that's like a song number 150 or something like that. And then all of a sudden later on in the 170s or 180s, you get these clusters of 3 songs in a row that I remember playing out, you know, and then there'll be like a week of writing crap. And then I come back and there's 2 or 3 or 4 in a row that it's like, oh, so I was starting to get a sense of my voice as a writer.
Okay.
And I just kept doing it. You know, you travel around, you meet other people that are doing it. I started going to festivals where it was so intimidating because you sit in a circle around a campfire and somebody that had played the main stage earlier tonight is hanging out in the campfire, and somebody that will be playing the main stage in a year or two is in the circle, and a young woman who will go on one day to win 8 Tony Awards is on the other, and it's going around. And all these great songs are being played, and then it's your turn. And it's like, I really need to get better at this. If this is the peer group that I am going to be hanging out with, I better learn to edit or something. And I've never stopped working at it.
Do you ever go back to those old songs though, and
I haven't,
like, pick little pieces out? And I've had someone say, I write like pieces, and then I don't have anything else to go with them. I kind of put them on a shelf, and then I'll be thinking of a song. Well, hey, that thing I thought of a year ago will fit here.
I do not on a regular basis do anything like that. I had an interesting experience, though, recently in moving from Boston to Buffalo. I was born in Buffalo, grew up in Cheektowaga, hit the road in my late 20s, lived out of my van for 12 years, wound up moving to Somerville, Massachusetts, spent the next 15 years in Somerville, Cambridge, and Arlington, Massachusetts, and now I'm living in the city of Buffalo for the first time in my life, in the city, not the suburbs. And in doing that move from Boston to Buffalo, I got this pile of notebooks that I never go through, and I just said never, and here's the lie. I opened one of them up. I'm like, what year is this one from? And I'm thumbing through it, and I think it was from 2008. I date pages when I write, especially when I write a song. This is the date that I wrote it on. In doing that, in the margins, I found this phrase: discovery is just stumbling upon a thing that's always been. And then you turn a page, and I've got that written out in something like 3 or 4 different fonts. 2008, I think, is the year of that. In 2017, I released an album called Never Knew Caroline, and song 2 on Never Knew Caroline is Sand, and in the second verse of Sand is that phrase. I thought of it, I wrote it down, and it just lived somewhere in the back of my head for nearly a decade before I found a place for it.
Right.
I remember being in my second semester of college. I didn't know what I was doing in college. I needed a guidance counselor. I needed somebody to see me, listen to me, hear what I was saying, give me guidance. I didn't get any of that as a young person. So floundering has been my MO. And in the second semester I went to UB for 3 years before moving on to Finger Lakes Community College for 2 years. And after 5 years of school, got a 2-year degree in liberal arts.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Impressed?
That's
Me
right.
too. In my second semester at UB, I'm in English class, and we're reading some detective story, and the expression "vanished like a fist when you open your hand" came up. I wrote a song called Bible Belt and put it on an album in 2019 that's available exclusively on Bandcamp. In 2019, I recorded and released 3 albums that are only available at klyma.bandcamp.com.
Okay.
The first album was called Fake Songs, and Bible Belt has that expression, disappeared like a fist when you open your hand. So there is some mechanism somewhere in my brain.
Right.
When a phrase is good, it just lives in there.
Right.
And comes bubbling up to the surface when I need it.
Right.
So I don't necessarily have to go back through the notebooks. If I wrote something good down,
Right.
I've got it in there somewhere. And I tend to forget the bad ones. That's why I don't want to go back. I already at some point years ago decided that I'm not going to play this song live. I don't want to go through a notebook and look at song 50 and get all weepy for, whichever girl I wrote it for. And be like, oh, there's one good line in here.
Yeah.
I've got 30 some years on that kid, and I'm probably expressing myself more articulately than whatever's in that notebook.
Yeah. That's got to be tough as an artist.
God, I hope so.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's got to be tough as an artist when you got new stuff and you want to play it, and someone's, yelling out Freebird or, something that you wrote, that they know you for, that they can sing along to. And you're like, I'm trying to progress here as an artist.
I was in the dressing room at the Ark in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was probably opening for Ramblin' Jack Elliott or someone like that. And Jerry Jeff Walker used to play at places like the Ark. And there was a thing on the, every artist scribbles on the wall in the dressing room. And it was like, don't ask me to play Mr. Bojangles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, noted.
Right. Yeah. There's been a meme going around lately. It's like, the list on the, request $10 for, for Margaritaville, $20 for this. And, and absolutely don't ask for this one, It's
Mustang Sally.
Mustang Sally, yeah. Well, Dwayne at Sportsman's, he says, I guess a couple of the guys got together and called themselves No Mustang Sallies just to kind of tweak Dwayne. So I thought that was kind of funny. But on a different note, so when did you decide that you wanted to start recording everything?
I don't know. I had a band, Greg Klyma and Stone Church, from 93 to 97. We recorded 2 albums. Looking back on it, I remember someone who was touring through town. I said, if I were going to invest some money right now, say $2,000-$3,000, should I buy a good PA or go into the studio? And he said, honestly, you should probably buy a really good PA and get good at your live show and not have to rent the PA from the room. Just make sure you have your own really good gear. And it was really great advice that I totally ignored and went and recorded an album that at this point I don't have a whole lot of appreciation for that album because I hear all the mistakes.
Right.
It's really hard for me to listen to the first couple of recordings without hearing all the things that I think would have been better had I waited until I'd learned what recording really is. So I didn't.
Yeah.
Man, when did I decide that I wanted to? I don't know that I decided it.
Right.
It just kind of felt like
Yeah.
that's the next thing that happens.
Right. Well,
You
was
know,
it
you
like
get into a relationship, there are steps that everybody goes
Mhm.
through in the relationship, and sometimes that ends up in marriage or children or buying a house or something.
Sure.
There's sometimes, you know, if
Yeah.
you're me, it just ends up in a breakup. But when you are making music, you learn an instrument, you start writing some songs.
Right.
I needed to learn how to sing. That's another reason why I shouldn't have done those albums when I did. I don't think I learned how to sing really for another 10 years
Wow.
past that, self-critical and all. But wow, you know, it was just,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do now. And there's also the idea that you need to build your press kit, and there's a little bit of you get taken more seriously when you've
Right.
got a recording to point to.
Yeah.
And in the mid 90s, CD technology was
Mm-hmm.
pretty popular and really cheap, and everybody was making an album, and there were local radio shows playing music.
Sure.
It all made sense.
Yeah.
It was more of just the logic of it than the deciding it.
Right. Yeah. Was it and to at the time, I mean, I remember I had Alison Pipitone on. She's like, "Yeah, when I made a CD, I felt like somebody. You know, like I've made it. I actually have this hard copy thing in my hand that kind of makes me feel like I'm somebody. You know, like I'm a real musician or something of that nature." And of course, back then too. I mean, I know me. I go to a show. I want to buy your music. If I hear if I like what I hear, I want to bring it home and have something to play. Right.
I love people like you.
Yeah. and I try.
Bring 1,000 of your closest friends
That's
to
right.
my next gig.
and I do try to buy my music. So I like to support everybody. Of course, I'm going broke, but who cares, right?
Aren't we all?
But that's how you guys keep doing what you're doing, right? I mean, you got to have people, and you almost have to have that. Now it's almost a little different, right? Nowadays, it's like you're not like touring to sell a CD. You're selling a CD to kind of support the tour, you know, in some respects. Cause
I think that was always the case, though.
yeah.
I think merchandise has always been a way that a band supports itself on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been on a major label. I have not been on a major tour. I don't have the name recognition of a Willie Nelson or a Grateful Dead, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just my understanding from what I read and or see in the world that people that have management companies, well, you've got to pay your agent this much and your manager that much. And when you play that room, the room takes 10% of your merchandising, and et cetera, and you probably got a crew of 50 or 100 or 200, and there are a couple of buses parked out back. And when you take all of the expenses that I just named and add in all the ones that I'm not even familiar with,
right,
you're starting to get into smaller and smaller percentages going to the artist per t-shirt. And that's why all those concert t-shirts wind up being $50 and $70, right? They're marked up to spread it around to the sound guy and the roadie.
Right.
So I just think that making a CD has partially been about getting your music out there, but isn't the tour about getting your music out there?
Yeah.
I think the CD is a way for a fan to connect with you, to support you in some way. And these days, CDs are less popular, so fans buy a Greg Klyma bandana or a trucker hat or a refrigerator magnet or a sticker. Diversify. Here's the thing that kind of bugs me about the current musician mindset, and I've heard so many people whine about it. People just aren't buying CDs like they used to. Obviously, you've recognized this.
Yeah.
So why are you releasing a new CD? Why don't you make a cool t-shirt or a cool trucker hat or something else?
Yeah.
If you're aware of the fact that selling CDs isn't making you the money that it did 15 and 20 years ago, it's your fault for not coming up with a creative new way to get your name and music out there, not the fans.
Yeah.
My approach to the music releasing has been to utilize things like Bandcamp. Klyma is spelled Klyma, Klyma.bandcamp.com. there are many songs, EPs, albums for you to check out at klyma.bandcamp.com. If you really want to support what I'm doing musically, or you just like something you're hearing on this podcast right now, check out my Patreon. Patreon.com/Greg Klyma is your home of sneak previews and exclusive videos and rare demos. Sometimes when I write a song, I make a recording of it. I may never wind up playing that song live ever again, but I've got this demo, and I've got super fans who are interested in stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those rare demos live at patreon.com/Greg Klyma, as do my newsletters, My Old Guitar and Me, etc., etc. So there are just so many ways now with the internet and a paperless society for us to diversify what we're doing.
Right.
And somehow vinyl has had a resurgence, and CDs are going to have a resurgence in 10 minutes, and all this stuff rides a wave. And just pay attention and try to ride the wave, you know?
Right, exactly. Well, CDs are somewhat coming back.
My niece told me that she listens to CDs, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, thank you for that 18-year-old perspective. And two, I got some CDs to lend you.
Yeah.
if that's what you're listening to right now, Uncle Greg's got a collection.
That's right. Well, you know, the thing is, too, is that so many, kids that age, they haven't grown up with anything analog. They haven't touched or felt. They didn't sit down with an album and read the cover front to back and the liner notes.
That is something I've always missed about now. I was fascinated by the names in parentheses.
Yeah.
I was telling you that story about Guitar Town by Steve Earle, and when I bought the album, it was reading through the credits.
Yeah.
That was so inspiring. Before I heard song 10.
Sure.
I knew the band, you know. Is there a digital download equivalent to that? If you're listening to all your music on Spotify, do you know who produced the album? Do you know who wrote the song? Do you even care? Do they even care?
Yeah.
I kind of think there's also a loss of magic. I'm not like all new agey and foofy about it and all this kind of stuff, but there have been times in my life experience where I'm driving around in a car and I'm really wishing I could hear that song right now, and you're scanning through the dial and then it comes on, and that's amazing. It's way more amazing, in my opinion, than being like, you know what song I really want to hear right now, and then you just scroll through with your thumb and listen to it 10 times in a row.
Yeah.
It's just there's something magical about the internet. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. And all of this technology that brings these things into our lives for a monthly fee.
Right.
I just don't think it's anywhere near as magical as wishing you could hear something. And amazingly, while you make your way through Syracuse, it comes on the radio. Especially if it starts or ends in static.
Yeah.
You were just in the range of that station long enough to catch it.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
In a way that Spotify just will never be.
Right. No, there is magic to that. And I think kind of getting back, I think the younger kids are starting to sense that, it's like when they get records, because I've heard that the biggest market for those is under 35 years old. They want that thing to hold in their hand and sit down. And, how many times did we play, side A, side B, you flip it back over and
our whole lives, we want something to hold in our hand.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You start grabbing that shit.
Right.
You're in the crib and you're just reaching around trying to grab hold of something.
Right. Well, and also listening to something that's hard copy is you have to pay attention to it, right? Because you have to flip the record over, or the CD, you have to put it in. You've got to play the track you want to hear, or play the whole thing, front to back. So there's an experience, whereas, like you said, digital, you just kind of thumb and it's there, it's background, and I don't know.
Since I moved back to town, I'm in an apartment in Allentown, and I do not own a television. And it's the first space that I've lived in over a decade where there isn't. I don't even have internet yet. I'm using my phone to check my email.
Sure.
I'm using my phone to check my social media. And that's as big as the screen currently gets in my apartment. What I do have is this enormous it had to have been in a barn or a workshop or something. It's like 3.5 feet tall, I think 5 feet wide table. It's huge. And I have the stereo that was in my family's house since the 70s.
Right.
When my parents stopped listening to records on any kind of regular basis, it moved into my bedroom. And then when I moved out, it moved along with me. No one's missed it.
Right.
But I have the same stereo with the same needle since then.
Yeah.
And I've got some, more modern speakers, and I put on a vinyl record and I sit in the recliner, and I've got the recliner positioned just so.
Yeah.
And the speakers are even with my ears, and that has become, oh man, that's the ritual now.
Yeah.
Put on a record. Is it the Willie Nelson record or the Stevie Wonder record? Is it the Mozart collection that I got from somewhere a long time ago? Or is it that Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, Linda Ronstadt trio album? Like, what are we going to put on?
Yeah.
And then that thing where the side ends and you get up and you flip it over. And sometimes I sit there and read the credits. Other times I'm doing my Sudoku puzzles or whatever.
We're two of the same.
I kind of, I haven't fully settled in yet, and it's still a really busy time for me with touring. When the dust settles, maybe in the dark of winter, it'd be kind of nice to not a party in the sense of like, drinks and conversation, but I'd like to have maybe a little gathering of some like-minded friends and get 4 or 5 of us in the room in agreement that the phones are off and there will be no conversation. Just, I would love to have the experience of listening to an album deeply with 3 or 4 friends, where it's not about the talking and it's not, oh man, that guitar part, and pointing at the speaker and geeking out. It's about just experiencing that with someone else who's as in love with the experience as you are.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, kind of speaking of listening to a song and experiencing it, why don't you get that guitar
what are
singing
the
here a little bit?
In tune?
Yeah.
Seems pretty close. I've spent half my time, half my life tuning my guitar. What's that saying? And the other half playing out of tune. I think that's how that goes. All right. How about this one? It's 2 degrees in Buffalo. Snow is coming down. It's whiteness blankets everything around. Drifts that measure 6 and 7 feet above the ground. Plows will run all night to move the snow. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. Cold, dry wind, a storm is coming over water that is warmer. Weathermen do what they can to warn of a northbound pressure system and another coming down from Canada over Erie and Ontario. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. City's getting older, all the youth is moving out. Some as soon as they can leave their parents' house. They'll graduate from a college here and get hired for a job down south, where the coolest thing they'll hear is on the radio. They earned their 2 degrees in Buffalo. Where Saturday morning at the Broadway market, say dzień dobry, pani matka, buy a beef on whack or get a pound of Salines. Dogs, you can walk the Elmwood Strip and shop, and take your children to Albright Knox, or maybe out to see Niagara Falls. And if they act up, just remind them of Father Baker's halls. Anywhere you travel, folks have heard of Buffalo. The chicken wings, the sports teams, and the snow. No one talks about the culture or the history, for these are things that so few seem to know. Oh, so few seem to know of the inventions, exhibitions, contributions to a nation growing strong, a stop along the Underground Railroad, where presidents have lived and died, while industry and art grew side by side. But heydays come and heydays go, and they have happened 2 degrees in Buffalo. At the turn of the 20th century, the city of light had jobs aplenty. Immigrants from Europe made their homes in the parks of Frederick Law Olmsted. You could read from a paper Mark Twain started before St. Lawrence Seaway came along. And the Erie Canal was more than just a folk song. Now at 3 a.m., if I want a drink, used to go down into Allentown back when you could go to the old Pink and see if any of my old friends were still hanging around. They claim that in this nation there are 6 degrees of separation, and I hear the same is true the whole world around. But in the city of good neighbors, friends, it's more like a small town. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo, and anywhere you go, you're bound to see somebody that you know. I was born in Sisters Hospital, I'm proud to call it home. And anywhere the buffalo may roam, from Atlanta, Georgia, out to the plains of Colorado. We talk of friends and memories of home. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. You know, I've been touring full time since August of 1998. And in that time, I've been to 49 states. The only one that I haven't been to yet is Hawaii. It's my understanding from TV and books and stuff that in Hawaiian there's a word, aloha. It means hello, goodbye, and I love you. And I've come to the realization that here in Buffalo, New York, we have a phrase for that. Go Bills. If you're walking down the Elmwood Strip and you see somebody you know on the other side of the street and you yell out, "Go Bills!" you might be saying hello, you could be saying goodbye. You're probably saying I love you. And I know everybody is revved up because this is the year.
Yes, it is.
And when Josh Allen gets it done and they're walking that Super Bowl trophy around downtown Buffalo, I am fully anticipating that the mayor will call me up and say, Greg Klyma, we need you to come on down here and sing that song of yours. And I'm going to get to this part of the song. And all those celebrating Buffalo Bills fans are going to sing along with this part. They are going to go, it's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. Let me hear you. It's only 2 degrees in Buffalo.
Yeah. Wow. You summed up our area with that song.
Thank
I've
you.
always said I've always said that there's 2 degrees, no 6. I mean, I have a degree of separation with Elvis because of Buffalo. I mean,
Really?
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah. So it's there's.
Have you got the new Peter Guralnick book yet? The Colonel and the King?
I have not got that one. I've heard about it and read some excerpts, but yeah, I have to get that one. So
I've read The Last Train to Memphis. I still haven't had the time for Careless Love.
okay.
But I read about the rise of Elvis, and I'm, going to have to get into a space to read about the downfall.
Yeah.
But I guess there's a new one called The Colonel and the King.
Yeah, I have heard about that. Well, there was a local photographer named Bob Smith who was with the Buffalo News, and he took a very famous shot of Elvis at the Odd in 1957.
Really?
And he walked in. I'm in the printing business, so he walked into the company I was working with 20-some years ago, and he said to the receptionist, "Do you guys print posters?" She says, "Yeah, what do you got?" Well, he pulls out this great photo of Elvis on his toes with the gold lame jacket, the guitar, the whole thing. And she says, "I got the guy for you." And I
How
came
cool
out
is
and
that?
so he was right there with Elvis, and he ended up showing me he took 24 great shots at the Odd. One of them he brought his 2 sisters-in-law. He says, "I didn't go as a Buffalo News guy. I went as a private citizen, and I knew a cop who got me backstage." And
Oh, wow.
he says, "I had my 2 sisters-in-law with me. They were 16 and 17 at the time.
Jeez.
And they were standing on each side of Elvis. There's a picture of Elvis. He's got 2 big lipstick prints on his cheeks where they kissed him, and he's grinning from ear to ear, right? And there's one right behind you there with Elvis on 2 knees. That's from the Odd, right next to Willie Nile.
Wow.
And yeah, and Bob, that's an original print that he had given me, and there's so much of that kind of stuff. And you kind of tipped on it. There's more to Buffalo than chicken wings and snow, and we
As
do
I
have
travel
culture.
around, it's always, oh, you're from Buffalo. You sure do get a lot of snow
Right.
up there. And that conversation always winds up being like, well, what do you get around here? Is it hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes?
Yeah.
You move the snow out of the way and life goes on.
Right.
And in my early years of touring, it was always peculiar to me because I didn't understand, naivete and all that. I just didn't understand that certain cities don't have the infrastructure for snowfall.
Mm.
And so really early on, like 25 years ago, I'm on tour somewhere like Northern Virginia. And it was really nice driving into town. And I got to the place and the bartender's like, "Oh, you're not going to have a crowd tonight." I'm like, "Why not?" And he goes, "Well, we're expecting snow." I'm like, "Really?" With an
Exactly.
idea of what that could possibly mean. And he goes, "Yeah, everybody's been out buying milk and bread all day. And the only people that are going to be in here is if they live in the neighborhood." And sure enough, it snowed a quarter, half an inch.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was on the roads.
Yeah.
And there were maybe 6 people in the bar that night.
Right.
That kind of thing. But always the weather.
Yeah.
So you get the question about the weather. Sometimes somebody will bring up chicken wings or the Buffalo Bills,
Right.
Sabres. And they're really hip. You got somebody that's super hip when they're like, do you know Ani DeFranco?
Right.
Sadly, the answer is no, I don't know Ani DeFranco.
Right.
But I truly appreciate everything that she does.
Yeah.
In fact, the first CD that I lent to my niece was Educated Guess by Ani DeFranco.
Okay.
My niece writes poetry.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, okay, you need to hear this.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't even necessarily the one to start somebody with, but I think the first track on that album is a poem. I think that's, if I'm remembering right.
Right.
So I was like, here, check this out.
Yeah.
That's your hometown on CD.
Yeah. Now, is this song one of your latest and greatest songs? Or?
That one's from 2000 and I want to say 7, but I think the album I put it on was in 2008. I put out an album called Rust Belt Vagabond when I had been touring full-time for 10 years. And you know what? The idea for that song was late in 2007, and it took 2 or 3 months to write it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being at Sportsman's.
Okay.
I remember the smoking ban was new.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a lot of people liked to grumble and bitch about that.
Yeah.
And I remember I was sitting with a friend at the bar. That friend was talking to someone who had just moved back to town from LA. It was late December. It was cold outside. They wanted to smoke cigarettes. I had been participating in the conversation a little and mostly just intrigued by the guy that just moved back from LA and my friend talking. And so I put on a jacket too, and they went outside to smoke cigs, and they're talking about this and they're talking about that, and I'm shivering, and I'm standing there. I want to be cool and listen to the conversation that they're having about stuff. And at some point, the guy in LA says, well, out in LA, everything is 6 degrees of separation, but it's only 2 degrees in Buffalo. And I said, good night.
Yeah. Wow.
And I hurried home.
Yeah.
And I started working on it. And my original thought about the song was that I was going to write a verse about the weather, do some sort of transitional bridge, and bring it into this idea of 2 degrees of separation. And then I started writing, and I came up with 2 very long verses.
Right.
And so now I didn't know how to make my idea work. So I'm talking with my friend Rand Bellavia, who's in a group called Ookla the Mock. Ookla the Mock just sang backing vocals on a new song of mine called The Word is Greed, which I put on my YouTube channel. And I was hanging out with Rand, and I said to him, I've got this idea about 2 degrees in Buffalo, and I want to go from like the weather to degrees of separation. And his response to me was, funny, when you said that title, what I thought you meant was like, college degrees.
Oh.
So I said goodbye.
Right.
And I went home and I wrote the 3rd verse that's in the song now.
Right.
And at some point in the process of writing that song, I realized this was never going to be a 3-minute long thing. And I've been trying for so long it's a trap, right? Like if you look at the running time on an Elvis song or a Beatles song or a Hank Williams song or an early Willie Nelson song, many of these songs that we love are 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes long. It was crazy ahead of its time for El Paso by Marty Robbins to be 4 minutes long.
Right.
That just didn't happen in the era of jukeboxes.
Sure.
And it's my understanding, I haven't gone out and done any research on this, but the way I understand it, jukeboxes had a mechanism in there. You put in the money and then it runs for a certain amount. The motor would run for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And so people were releasing songs that were 2 minutes long so that they would play in full on jukeboxes. And jukeboxes used to be monitored in the way that Billboard and Cashbox magazines would actually have a chart for that. So it was very important to get a lot of plays on the jukebox. You wanted to write a 2-minute long song. And Hank Williams, man, this stuff blows my mind. You listen to something like Move It On Over, and it's 8 verses with a refrain and 2 instrumental breaks, and it's like 2 minutes long. Beatles songs. 2 verses, bridge, solo, verse, bridge again, 2 more verses, out. 2 minutes. Like, I don't even know how you do that.
Right.
Once,
Yeah.
let alone like 20 greatest hits times, right? So I've always been I've aspired to write the short song, the 2-minute song, the 3-minute song, the something with a catchy hook, bridge, bam, you're out.
Sure.
And then I find myself going, it's
Yeah.
like, shit, this is going to be one of those Woody Guthrie type Bob Dylan things that just goes on forever. And I wrote something like 13, 14 verses, and slowly and surely in the editing, I was like, okay, that's very repetitive. Up saying that again.
Right.
And as it stands, I think it's 9 verses long and could probably maybe be 8. I just, I resigned myself to it. This is what it is now.
No, I liked it the way it was. It's because now with radio not having to be in that kind of, position to you, you mentioned you're on Sirius. I mean, it can be as long as you want, right? Sure. And recording doesn't. I mean, back then too, I remember watching the biographic movie, Ray Charles, and he did his one song, and they're like, but it's too long for a record.
Oh, is that What I Say?
So yeah, What I Say. So we got to put half on one side, half on the other side, and how do we? Well, just put 2 records in.
I think they did something like 2 or 3 minutes worth of jamming right off the beat before he sang a note. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and you don't have to have those constraints. And my friend and I, we sing together, and one of our kind of signature songs we sing, it's a cover of a Harry Chapin song called Mr. Tanner. And, he was a storyteller, right? He didn't write 2-3 minute songs. I mean, some of those songs they go on forever, and but they're good songs, and they're storytelling songs.
I love a good story.
Yeah, it's.
I've been listening to Willie Nelson's Red-Headed Stranger a lot lately. Here we sit in the calendar year 2025, which makes it 50 years since the release of Red-Headed Stranger. And I've taken to, I can play you every song on side 1.
Right. Oh, good.
I've done that at shows where somebody be like, oh, he's playing the opening song to Red-Headed Stranger. And then I'm like, and the second song, he's playing side 1. It's kind of fun to watch it seep into people's consciousness.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a long form story.
Right.
It's several songs, but it's a long form story. And I love that about it.
Right. And of course, and then that kind of goes back into why records were so important, because they were put together with a specific, lineage or whatever. There was an order to, in a lot of those albums, why certain songs were number 1, number 2, number 3.
That.
Yeah.
It's not
after a while.
I can't speak with authority on this. It's my guess that the first long playing records were compilations of all the singles that an artist might have released.
Right.
And then what is it? Frank Sinatra comes up with, what is the song for love?
Oh yeah. I know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's considered maybe the first concept album, but really what they're saying is it's the first time somebody put together an album where it wasn't just a collection of all their greatest hits, or the A and B sides.
Yeah, because I think long play records started because you'd have a set of 8 45s, right, or 4 45s with 8 songs, right?
That's what I think happened.
Yeah, and they just kind of put them together. Because I've got Bill Haley's first, record that's got 8-10 songs on it, and that came from a 45 set,
right,
A and B, and they put them all together. But yeah, but you know what, Greg? We're at the top of the hour.
Did we make it across the finish line?
We made it across the finish line.
I was rooting for us.
Absolutely.
I was on the sidelines and in the thick of it, and I was cheering us on, and now we're here, and now
there you go.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh heck, there's a lot more to talk about, but as I always say, we gotta keep people wanting more, and get you back here in the next time and in a while. And
I would love to reiterate. Website is Klyma.com, Klyma. Climate change is real, friends. Klyma.com is where you find things like my tour dates, when I'm playing around town, when I'm hitting the road. If you got friends in Illinois or Missouri, you know the drill. Just let people know that your buddy Greg is coming out to their town. And if you're interested in checking out my music, you can download it at klyma.bandcamp.com. I believe you can listen to any one of those songs 3 times before Bandcamp will poke you to make a purchase. So go play around, listen to some stuff. And of course, if you are the super fans supporting artists financially, patreon.com/Greg Klyma, exclusive videos, sneak previews of things coming up, rare demos, lyric sheets, etc., etc.
Right.
I appreciate your support.
Oh, that's fantastic, Greg. And I can't thank you enough for coming down and sharing your stories, sharing your music. And it's been a lot of fun. And we'll definitely have to do it again.
Till we get to hang out again.
Till we get to hang out again. And as you can see, there's lots of places to spin some records.
I need to spend way more time in this room.
Yeah. And and for everyone who's tuned in, we hope you've enjoyed this show as much as we have. And as always, you can find the podcast where you find your podcasts, at Spotify, Amazon Audible, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, thebuffalohive.com, YouTube, and of course, you can always find the podcast at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music, and I will have those links that Greg just talked about, so you can go to the site. I'll throw a couple videos up there, so you can get a little taste more of that, and you'll have one spot to go to, so you can find all things that's Greg's up to, and yeah, so it's been great. It's been fun. I can't thank you enough again. And for everyone who's tuned in, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. In the Flamingo Lounge is made possible in part by CatsLikeUs.com, your online store for authentic vintage clothing and accessories. Buffalo Ironworks, an intimate live music venue and bar located in the Cobblestone District in downtown Buffalo. And by Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, Western New York's premier golf course, restaurant, and banquet facility. At the Hawk, the bar is hopping year-round with live music every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and some other nights, too. Tune in for a new episode every Saturday at 9 a.m. EST at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. Bark, Zoe, bark. Good girl.